Hello, everyone. Gary Raze with Remax Integrity and Tim Tyler with Supreme Lending.
Yes.
So here we are. It's September. And of course, we're going to be talking about what's happened since the middle part of August to the middle part of September. And things are interesting as best. We know that there have been some price kind of stabilization, if you want to say. And there's certainly been some interesting mortgage information that you're going to share here in just a few minutes. But also, we are now well into our new set of rules for the real estate world, which means that instead of the fees that are charged for a sale of a property, where basically the selling agent or the selling person, the owner, usually paid for the entire fees. Now we have the buyer that has the ability to negotiate what they're going to pay for their realtor, and the seller does not automatically pay for the buyer's agent, but it is negotiable. That's the big thing. So there's a lot of reasons and a lot of changes that we're all getting used to. So first of all, we'll start off with the actual cost of homes here in Eugene. Like I said, it is stabilized. As a matter of fact, in the last 12 months, if I go from basically middle of August to the middle of August of this year, the middle of August of last year, we have not quite gone up 1%. So the median price is still around the 435, 436 price range here in Eugene. So that's kind of an encouraging thing because, to be quite honest, we don't really want our prices of homes to go up much more, because the more it goes up, the less people or less amount of people out there that can actually afford the home. So that's the thing there. So the average time, if you were to list your home today, the average amount of time on the market now is about 2.5 months, which is quite a bit longer than it used to be. So there was a time when it was less than 1 month, and those days are back. We're aiming back towards normalcy.
The new normal.
Normalcy, I think, is the correct way to say it. At any rate, we've got some ability to talk now about the rates. We know that things are improving.
They are.
So what's happened?
Yeah, what's happened? Well, the market has anticipated that the Federal Reserve in the next Federal Reserve meeting, that they'll cut by at least a quarter. There's some that are hopeful that it's a little higher than that, half a point.
But we've been kind of already going down a little, haven't we?
Incrementally, we've been going down since the Fed has been in any of their interviews, and a lot of the Fed governors that are part of that Federal Reserve Board, they've been speaking to reporters, and now's the time to start cutting rates. So
good. Well,
so that's why we've been seeing incrementally.
That's welcomed news.
It is welcome news.
Sure. And the thing that I also stress every time, I think, the last several months is we're really only what it's always been for a 30-year average. We had some free money there for about 4 years, where they came down to as low as 2 point something. But that was a unique situation where they were trying to get things back going again because of COVID and so on. So those days, I don't know that we'll ever see those kinds of, hopefully.
Well, hopefully not, because that means a big crisis.
So hopefully there's no new crisis there in the future for us. But about 6%-ish is basically where it's been forever. If you talk to your parents or grandparents, they're gonna tell you that they paid up to
double digits,
17% at one time, 1981. I know you weren't alive then, but in 1981 it was 17.5%. So and guess how many homes sold? None. So that's what it was. That's what happened there. So, what do you anticipate? Is there a bottom? Do you anticipate a bottom here where it's going to continue to go down, or is it going to level off, do you think?
Well,
these are all opinions, by the way.
Yeah. The speculation among, or the consensus among experts is that we'll continue to see them drop incrementally as the Fed lowers the discount rate, because they're going to lower the discount rate by a quarter point, which is the rate at which other banks borrow
Yes.
from the window. So as the Federal Reserve eases that monetary policy and lowers by a quarter, maybe a half, maybe 3/4, depending on the meeting and depending on the data that's coming in, then rates will move down. It's going to be very slow, though. It's not going to be, you're not going to see any drastic movements.
That's a good point, because here's something that's going to go into buyers and sellers' mindset.
Yeah.
Well, if it's going to go down, let's just wait and buy later. Not necessarily the best move
Right.
on that, because it's going to be incremental. It's not going to be big
Correct.
drops.
No.
The biggest drop is probably going to happen this coming week, and from there on, it'll probably be very small if it continues down at all.
Right.
As I'll go back a little bit of history. COVID, we know what happened there. The economy was in the toilet because no one could go out and purchase, and it was some pretty trying times.
Yeah.
When COVID ended, that's when inflation started, because everybody wanted to be out doing things, spending money, going on vacation, etc. And inflation went like this. And so when that started to happen, that's when we started to worry about our interest rates. And that's when that started going up to try to curtail some of that inflationary stress. Well, we're getting back to normal now as far as inflation. Gas prices went clear up to $4 and something plus, and now it's down into the threes, and things are improving.
They are
for the normal cost. But to wait until interest rates go down much more is almost not to your best interest.
I would agree in that.
I use the word interest, and the reason for that is we all have goals. We want to have home ownership. We want to either upsize, downsize, or we want to try to improve our living situation. To sit there and wait for a couple of more years to do that isn't necessarily in your best interest. And the reason I bring that up is if you have strong feelings about what your goals are, just get her done now while you can, because we do not know the future. It could turn around and go back up again. We don't know. So my suggestion is, and that's not because it's self-serving, I want to sell a lot of houses, or that's not what it's about. It's about the fact that, being an old guy like I am, I can honestly say with assurance that sometimes your goals are more important than the dollar. And making a few dollars less on your mortgage payment by waiting 2 more years is not in your best interest. So that's my little spiel there.
Sure. Just running a little hypothetical. Let's just say, you as a consumer, you're waiting, you're on the fence about buying because you believe rates are going to drop substantially and they're going to drop quickly. If they do, if something were to happen and the Fed were to decrease rates really quickly, so we got back into the 4s again, do you know what that would do to the demand and because we still have an inventory issue, right?
Yes.
So imagine that fever pitch demand that is going to just multiple offers. And
Tim, I'm going to throw a curve at you here in a second, but I want to reemphasize something to you. Suppose you bought at today's market, and all of a sudden the interest rate drops down to 4%. Can't they refinance?
Absolutely, they can,
and bring that interest rate right back down again. So that's always a tool in your toolbox. But I want to bring up something else, and we haven't talked about this ahead of time. I'm hearing rumors that there are a lot of people, a lot of loans out there now that are actually they're borrowing against the home that you own so that you can buy now before you sell.
Sure. Yeah.
We have all kinds of different. Talk through that.
There's all kinds of different bridge loan opportunities there, which really they're not really titled bridge loans. But you can take equity out of a departure residence. Like let's say you just owned one free and clear down in California, for instance, and you wanted to buy a house up here in Oregon, and you wanted to pay cash for it, or you wanted to, you want to pay cash for it. So there's no contingencies. Or not even if you're going to pay cash for it, you just don't want any contingency that you have to sell that house first in order to buy the house up here in Oregon.
Okay, I'm going to stop you there. So
Sure.
we're not talking about just cash buying, by the way. We're
No,
talking
no,
about
we're not.
you got equity in this house.
Yes.
Not necessarily free and clear, but you have a lot of equity.
Yeah.
You may have $75,000 to $100,000 worth of equity.
Right.
This person can still go here and purchase another home.
Sure.
With the fact that they haven't sold this house yet. Is that accurate?
That's correct. They can put a loan on that departing residence and get the cash out of that house, and then buy the house up here in Oregon.
The reason I bring that up is that it's very difficult for people to say, yeah, I want to sell, but I don't even know where I'm going to go, and I don't want to be homeless. Mm-hmm. Well, that part we can resolve that part. Yep. So that's a biggie. Yep. So that's kind of what I wanted to bring up, because things are changing in such a way now that if you've got 4 or 5 years of equity already built up, you can go ahead and make a change if you so desire.
That's correct. Yes, there's all kinds of different programs. Just call one of your mortgage professionals, and they'll go over those programs.
Correct, and do go through a mortgage professional, because they know all the current programs, and there's new programs that come out continually.
Always.
So I wanted to share that with everyone. So with that said, I just want to say we're sitting good. Things are looking positive. Inflation's coming down.
Yes.
Interest rates are slowly ratcheting down. Inventory hopefully will come up so that we can have more selection to choose from. And at this point in time, I'm feeling pretty positive about everything.
I think there's a lot of reasons to be positive.
So that being said, Tim, thank you again for joining me in this this monthly report. And until next time, this is Gary Raze, Remax Integrity, and Tim Tyler of
Supreme Lending.
All right, you take care.